The seventh trap that you want to avoid is avoid high-risk schemes. We all know some people or multiple people that are looking for the next hot thing to get rich quick. Now, nobody wants to call it a get-rich scheme because that would be way too obvious. Instead, you look for the next hot thing, the next hot investment, the next hot cryptocurrency, the next hot meme stock. That way you can throw your money in there and hopefully make a lot of money. And maybe you can find it early enough that way you can make that money early on. But the reality is now, the higher the risk you take, the higher chance you have to lose all of your money. Sure, you can see huge returns, but you can also lose all that money just as fast. And this is where now you have to understand that there's a cost to taking all these get-rich-quick investments or schemes or whatever you want to call it, because if you keep losing your money in these things, that's money that isn't being compounded or invested into something that can actually grow sustainably and build you real wealth. And so now if something seems too good to be true, it probably is, but also understand that if you want to build real sustainable wealth, you have to put your money into assets. For me, the bulk of my investments are into sustainable investments that have proven the test of time. That's about 80% of my investments. The other 20% are more of what I call speculative investments. Some of these are startup investments. Startup investments have the ability to make a lot of money, but statistics show us that the average startup investment will fail. Somewhere between 8 to 9 startup investments will go bust or bankrupt in the first 5 years. So most startups that I invest in will probably fail. I understand that. I also invest in cryptocurrency. Now, cryptocurrency is very volatile. It can go up very quickly and it can go down just as quickly. Now, I believe in the value of the blockchain and the future of cryptocurrency, which is why I buy it, but I also understand how volatile it is, and I understand that it can go to zero. If it goes to zero, is it going to affect me? No, not really, because it's a small piece of my investment portfolio. Although I do believe in it, it's still not a huge chunk of my investment portfolio. I also own some physical gold. This is about 2% of my total investment portfolio because this is an alternative way for me to save hard money. But I also don't dump all of my money into gold because it doesn't really produce any value. It just sits there and looks back at me. And so now if you're going to be investing your money into, say, the more fun, more speculative types of investments, fine. But just make sure you understand where it fits in your investment portfolio. It's okay to have some fun with some of your money in your investments, but you have to know where it fits within your investment portfolio. For me, it's now maybe about 20% of my investment portfolio total, which includes my cryptocurrency, my startup investments, and my physical gold. Before it was only around 10%, then recently I expanded it to closer to 20% because I have been able to build more wealth so I can afford to have more money in my speculative investments. But this is where you have to find what's the right number for you and understand that sure, these speculative investments could grow very fast, but they probably won't. And if they don't, are you going to be okay? So you have to make sure you look at your investment portfolio in a holistic manner and understand how you're going to actually build your wealth. The eighth trap that you have to avoid is not investing in your own financial education. And there's a number of different ways that you can do this, because the number one way that you're going to learn, especially on your financial education, is by making mistakes. That means you go out and do something. You go out and you start investing in stocks, you lose money, and then you figure out why you lose money. You start reading more books, you do things to learn how to invest your money better, and that happens by by experience through mistakes. This experience education cannot be learned anywhere else. You have to go out and do that. But in addition to that, you also want to be spending and investing your money and time into learning as well. That means watching YouTube videos. That is a free way for you to start learning and building that financial education. Then I want you to read books, and then I want you to also take some classes, which cost money. Now, taking classes is probably one of the most let's call it argued way of learning and building your financial education. And I know this from firsthand experience because when I was finishing college, I spent about $3,000, I think it was $3,500 on a real estate class to learn how to wholesale real estate. And I remember when I talked to people about it, because I didn't have tons of money back then. That was a huge sum of money for then. I remember talking to people, and people thought that I lost my mind, that I was investing in buying the scam, and why would I want to pay thousands of dollars to learn how to do this thing? But that $3,000 or $3,500 that I spent on that made me no money in the first month. But then it did make me no money the second month. And then it made me no money the third month. And then it made me no money the fourth month. But then the fifth month, that was when I started making money from the education that I learned. And that was when I started to really apply what I learned. And this is where now understanding that if you want to invest in your financial education by taking some of these classes, number one, understand who is teaching it. Number two, is it reputable? Are you learning something with a actual goal? Or are you learning this how to make 6 figures in 60 days? Because if it's 6 figures in 60 days without any actual information on what you're learning, it's probably a scam. But now understanding who's teaching it, what are you learning, and are you ready for it? Because if you don't have the money for that financial education class, then go out and use the free content on the internet. Start investing money when you have money. Because if you just start going into debt and you don't apply the information, well, now you're going to be paying off that bad investment for a long time. And then you also have to ask yourself, are you going to be able to apply and do whatever it takes to utilize that information? Because most people won't. But if you're one of those people that will apply it, then this can be a good investment for you. Because the reality is with most online education, I think it's like 90% of people will never use the information that they learn. And so if you're one of those 90% of people that are not going to use that information, don't buy it. Save yourself the money and go put that money into the S&P 500 or to the stock market index fund or whatever it is. That way now you can just own something. But if you're actually going to use the information and you know that you will use it and you know that you'll apply it and you're learning from somebody good and it's something that you can actually use, then it can be a worthwhile investment. The 9th trap that you have to avoid is you spend money based off of what you feel that you deserve, not what you can afford. We live in this Instagram flex culture where everybody on the internet has a Gucci bag, everybody drives a Mercedes, everybody has a BMW parked in their parking lot, and everybody travels to the Bahamas and everybody's going to Cancun for some reason. Now, how do they afford it? I have no idea, but this is what's happening. And now when you are in this Instagram culture where everybody has all these nice things, you want to have it too because it seems normal. Everybody has the nice purses. Everybody has the nice clothes. Everybody's going out to these fancy restaurants. So you want to be able to post that as well. And this is where you have to understand that if you spend money based off of what you deserve instead of what you earn, you are going to be spending the rest of your life paying off all those expensive pictures and videos and boomerangs on Instagram, which apparently I was told recently the boomerangs are only for old people. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what somebody was telling me. This is where you have to understand that you got to live within your means. And that means you got to live and act your wage. I think that's what Dave Ramsey says, act your wage. Because if you keep trying to do what everybody else on Instagram is doing, well, they're not the ones paying your bills. You are. And you have to be smart with your spending and live within your means. And that means right now, maybe you don't go on that nice vacation. Maybe you're not going out to the fancy restaurants. Maybe you have to be a little bit more creative. You have to be a little bit more crafty. And if you're willing to make that sacrifice, well, I bet you that 10 years from now, you're going to be able to go out and do all that fancy stuff when all of your friends who were broke trying to show it off are going to be struggling to make back their previous payments, while you can go out and do it and afford it. And then all of your friends who were Snapchatting and Instagram and all that cool stuff before are going to come to you asking, how can you afford all these nice things now? And this is where you have to kind of get away from the temptation of wanting to show it off right now and want to build that wealth. Because the unfortunate reality is you cannot show off your stock market portfolio the same way you can your Gucci belt. This is why it's so hard for regular people, because everybody is showing off all their nice things. Before, they used to only show it off when you saw them in person, where you'd see that they had the Gucci belt on or whatever the red shoes are, the red bottom shoes or whatever they're called. Now, it's all over social media. And if you're constantly on Instagram, on Snapchat, on Facebook, or whatever other TikTok there is out there, and you keep seeing people post it, you're going to want it too. And when you want it before you can afford it, you're going to spend money that you don't have buying things that you shouldn't be buying when you should be buying assets right now. And the 10th trap that you have to avoid is getting comfortable. Comfort is the biggest disease that prevents people from ever achieving any true financial success or true financial freedom, because when you get comfortable, well, you don't want to leave that comfort. And you get caught into the, I have nice health care for my work. I have a nice 401k for my work. I have this nice salary, which, yeah, maybe I don't have the most financial freedom, but I'm comfortable. I can pay my bills and I can get by. And sacrificing that comfort can be very risky, because now you go from having all this cushy support and pillow and nest egg to now having nothing. But unless you're willing to take a risk, you're never going to be able to see the huge success that you dream about. And this is where you have to just ask yourself, what is it that you want? Do you want to live big and really have that nice dream stuff that most people dream about? Or do you just want to be comfortable? And if you're not willing to make that sacrifice, you're never going to be able to have that life that most people dream of. And that's okay for most people, but if that's not what you want, you cannot get comfortable in your current situation in your life. You can't get comfortable with your healthcare, your 401k, or your salary. You can't get comfortable with being comfortable. You can't get comfortable with having the nice things, and you can't get comfortable feeling bad for yourself and just kind of going into this whole idea of thinking that, well, this is okay, that this is what I deserve, that this is where I'm supposed to be. No. If you want to have something better, you can't get comfortable where you are, and then you have to go out and do something completely different, and then figure out how you can excel, how you can scale, and how you can achieve that life that you want. And that means that you're going to have to do something that's different and uncomfortable. And that's hard because then people will laugh at you. People are going to see that you downgraded your car, and they're not going to understand why you went from a BMW to a Toyota, and they might make fun of you. And then they're going to wonder why you're not going on vacation with them anymore. They're going to ask you a lot of questions about why you're not partying with them anymore. They might think that you lost your mind. But this is where now, if you really want to build that wealth, if you really want to have that financial freedom, you're going to have to do things that the majority of people are not willing to do. If you enjoyed this clip and you want to continue your financial education journey, I have another video that I think you'll love. All you got to do is click that button right over there. And for those of you who want to stay up to date on the top finance and business news, you can join Market Briefs, my free financial newsletter, by clicking that button below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.